In this video, I'm going to be covering what's going on generally with interest rates, what's going on with Colorado Springs as a whole, just news related in general. Holy Yuletide blessings, Batman. Fed Chair Powell says the obvious yet again, and no one believes him. Are you believing me? Are you listening to when the Fed says what they're going to do or not do? Just take them at their word because historically that's what they've been sticking to. Fed Chair Powell says too early to say when to expect rate cuts. So there's this idea that economists are saying, "Oh, we're going to expect to see several rate cuts throughout 2024 to accommodate for the fact that inflation has been tampened down." And sure, I'm speculate all you want, and perhaps that's the case, but until it actually comes directly out of their mouths, I really don't care. And so this just says exactly what I just said, which is to say that, yeah, they might cut rates, but they're not committing to any particular time. They're not committing to an amount. They're not saying anything at this point. They're just speculating, yeah, that might happen. But in the meantime, ooh, nothing has happened. Congratulations. Meanwhile, mortgage rates are at 7.077% according to Optimal Blue. Switch on over to Mortgage News Daily, and rates are at 7.11. That's for a 30-year fixed mortgage. If you go and use an FHA or you use a VA loan, it's going to be a little bit lower, 6.5. Well, that's nice. Over here for a 30-year FHA, it says 6.84 for Optimal Blue. Mortgage News Daily, you've got 6.51 for an FHA, 6.52 for a VA. So a little bit better. It's definitely not approaching 8% as we were just a month or so ago, but are rates going to come down any further than that? I don't think so. I mean, you're gonna have fluctuation. There's always fluctuation, but what's the impetus for rates to come down further than this until the Fed says, "Hey, we have a schedule for when we're going to cut the rate points. We're not going to hike anymore. We're going to cut them." Then you see the rates come down. But until you actually get that announcement, there's no reason for rates to come down any lower than they have. At least not by a huge amount to make you go, "Oh, let's buy a house now for sure." Sinkholes are continuing to plague Colorado Springs, and specifically, I mean, there's a lot of sinkholes in that Cragmore Country Club Estates area. It hasn't been anything recently that I'm aware of, but Rockrimmon is that other spot where, hey, there were a bunch of mines that used to be a mining area, and so there's all these shafts that have never been closed up underneath the Rockrimmon neighborhood. And so this article goes into this particular couple who's like, "Hey, our house is starting to sink, and we're pretty sure that it's over a mine shaft." And so there's a picture of it's not huge, it's not like a gaping hole at this point, but they're trying to get ahead of that problem before it turns into that and say, "Hey, look, we've got a problem, we got to deal with it." This is enough of a problem that we have a state mine subsidence program. So if your house was built before a certain year, it says in the article what year that was, you can apply to be a part of that program if something happens to your house. So look at that map right here. That is all where the hazard risk is. It's a low risk in that green area, but you see that pink? The blue is where it's worse, but the pink is where it's like for sure you're screwed, likely if you have a house in that area right there. They know about this. And this is just something that you have to be aware of if you've got a house in this neighborhood is this is going to be an ongoing problem until they plug up every single mining shaft. So the way that our city fixes this problem is they install steel piers underneath the homes. And so when the house is sinking, it lands or pushes down on that pier, and then that pushes down into the ground. And then the idea is that the bottom of that pier will eventually hit some rock or some hard soil, and then it'll just hold there. The problem is that when that pier pushes down into an actual open shaft, and then it's not going to do you a lick of good. To install those piers is going to cost you, according to this article, anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000. If you need a new foundation and a new basement, that's going to cost you $100,000 to $300,000. So this program will help you if your house is built before 1989. If it's built after then, likely it isn't even in the neighborhood anyway. So it's great to have that program, but that's just something to be aware of if you have a house in that neighborhood. And this article is from the CS Indy, and this says Springs Utilities gas line project turns into nightmare for customer. So for Dorothy McNack, her encounter with Colorado Springs Utilities has felt like a nightmare. What the utility company was trying to do, according to them, was to replace a gas line that was old and apparently leaking. And what ended up happening is they dug up all these trenches around her property and around the perimeter of her house in order to get to this old gas line. And she is, from what I am understanding, potentially suing the utility company because of their failure to communicate with her what they were doing from the get-go, not giving her enough communication about what they were doing, not asking permission and just going ahead and doing it. She even offered to just switch all of her appliances out to electric so that they wouldn't have to dig up all these holes around her house. And then not only dig up the holes, but not replace anything after the fact. Like they filled up the holes, but they didn't replace any of the grass or the plants. They just left it as is. And she's not too happy about it. And I've talked with her on Nextdoor about this and like clarified with her what was going on. And she has talked to city council as well as Colorado Springs Utilities about, hey, I didn't like how you guys handled this. You could have done it a bit better. This is what you should have done. And they just have not been very receptive to her needs on her particular house. And one of the reasons that I'm bringing this up is because Colorado Springs Utilities already has a history of not doing things really the way that they should be doing. We recently had a new water tank that was installed in Rockrimmon neighborhood, and it was supposed to be a 40-foot tall water tank. And now it's a 60-foot tall water tank. And that may not seem like a big deal. To the people who live in that neighborhood, it absolutely is a big deal. It's a bigger eyesore now than it ever was going to be. But that was not the only issue. The rest of the issue was that they wanted Colorado Springs Utilities to hold to their agreement that it was only going to be 40 feet tall instead of building a water tank that was 60 feet tall and isn't holding any more water than the 40-foot water tank was going to do. It'd be one thing if it held more water, have being 20 feet taller, right? It's not holding any more water. The Colorado Springs Utilities just didn't plan it properly. They didn't pay attention to the permitting. They didn't pay attention to the company that they were having install this. And once residents told them, hey, this isn't right, they just kept doing it anyway. And that's the issue, is not so much that they built a taller water tower, but that they didn't listen to the residents and they just didn't care. And so the utility company kicked it over to the city council. And the city council said, that's fine, you can go and build the 60-foot water tower. But the problem with that is that everybody who's on the city council is also on the board of directors for Colorado Springs Utilities. So there's a clear conflict of interest with getting this project done, getting this project approved, because you've got the same people running the utility company as you do the city council. So of course they're going to say, yeah, do what you like. And that doesn't make the residents over there too happy or thrilled about Colorado Springs Utilities or anybody on the city council. So I got to actually go to my district, District 1's town hall that our councilman Dave Donaldson was hosting, and that was a few days ago. So I got to actually speak with him briefly and then hear from him directly on what the current issues and concerns with residents are. And there are some residents who just feel jaded about the whole situation and just don't go to city council meetings, don't go to town halls because they've already gone, they've already voiced their opinion, they've already voiced their concern, and they've been effectively ignored. And one of the issues that Dave Donaldson had brought up when I went to his town hall was that there's a lack of communication. There's a lack of social media communication, especially that he had mentioned at their most recent city council meeting where they decided what the budget for the city was going to be for 2023, 2024, and approving what was going to get cut, what was going to get expanded, where money was going to go. Nobody showed up, like from public. The public didn't show up to give any input or feedback on that meeting. And he's just said, I think that we're having an issue with communicating that these events are happening. How can we improve our communication to the public and get more engagement from the public? Well, when you're not really active on social media and when you're that's where people are communicating. You could put it on Nextdoor. And I mean, they put the event for the town hall on Nextdoor, but there is very limited engagement. There's no engagement. There's just, okay, here's an event. I found out about this town hall through Facebook and I went, oh, it's at a time and day that I can actually attend. This is amazing. I'm going to go. I want to be more involved in my local politics and make a difference. Well, a lot of other people have felt the same way, uh, currently and in the past, and then they've come away feeling like they didn't listen to me. They didn't care. They just said, yeah, sure, whatever, and then they just did whatever they wanted to do. And so if that's you and you've got some personal involvement or history in local politics here in Colorado Springs, I'd love to hear from you. Put it down in the comments below. Share your experience about what's been going on with you when you have voiced your concerns, because I think it's important that the people here in Colorado Springs have a voice in what is going on with the future of our city. I think it's important that people are listened to. And that doesn't necessarily mean that City Council or Colorado Springs Utilities is actually going to listen to you. But that's the beauty of it, is if you feel they're not listening to you, use that to your advantage when those seats come up for reelection, is that you can vote in who you like. You can go and push for another candidate and get the word out there. Because if you don't, nothing's going to happen. And those same people that you don't like or that you don't agree with are going to continue to be in office. And so that's what I'm going to try to get more involved in is what can I do as a person to put the public's opinions and desires out there in front of our local leaders so that we can make sure that we do have a voice. And the more of us show up, the more effective that's going to be. And if you can get public support, if you can get conversations, dialogues going on your social media feeds, get people more involved. I know I'm trying to push a topic here, but I think it's really important that we are involved in our local politics. You have limited say with voting on state and especially on national issues and people, but you've got a lot more pull when it comes to the local stuff here. Just for funsies, here's some drama that's in my particular school district. May not be your school district, but it's a district that's gaining a lot of traction in Colorado Springs. There's been a recent salary increase for teachers in District 11. There's been a lot more push to improve the school district, improve math, reading, and writing rates in this district. So the communications department for Colorado Springs School District 11 appears to have gone dark amid rumors of a high-level personnel shakeup within the district. So 4 senior D11 staff members got fired, and this was at the doing of Superintendent Michael Gall. He didn't give any more information for why he fired these people. There's 3 people, like they have the names of 3 of these people, but not the 4th one. And so this was part of the drama, was that D11's official Facebook page had briefly displayed a cover photo with a photo of Gaul next to a photo of the Harry Potter movie villain Lord Voldemort. The page was apparently taken down shortly afterward and reappeared with a Thanksgiving message as the cover photo. So if you see it here, like whoever was running their Facebook page really didn't like him, and they put that picture up. They put that up on their official Facebook page. Like, I mean, talk about like, you're getting fired at that point for doing that. Like, why would you even do that? And here's another one. 4 days later, a comment on D11 school board president Parth Melpakham's re-election campaign page, attributed to the District 11 Facebook page, delivered a series of scathing accusations about Melpakham's campaign and personnel decisions. The comment has since been deleted. Melpakam and Gal said the district is aware of the unauthorized online activity and is conducting an investigation. Mel Pacam went on to say that the district would in future have a robust and exciting social media platform. But as of now, they don't have a Facebook page. They took it down entirely. Like they've got other social media that they're not utilizing very effectively. And again, this ties into the city's lack of communication. This is D11. This isn't the utilities board. This isn't the city council. This is a school district that is having the same issue of there really needs to be a better way to communicate, especially with the younger generation who their main level or their main way of communicating is through social media platforms. Social media platforms are infrastructure. They're not a bonus way of communicating. This is how people communicate. And if you've got these stuffy posts or content that really just doesn't provide a lot of value, then you're not really communicating with people. You need to have a better way of communicating. You need to have somebody who really understands how to properly talk to people and start conversations and provide some value that people actually want to respond to. And so I'm seeing this as a golden opportunity for somebody to pick up a social media management job and possibly a PR position here. And I looked on D11's website. I didn't see that as a job opening to hire somebody for this position. So maybe they're planning to hire for it internally. Maybe they'll announce it later. I don't know. But I've been looking at it because I'm like, I want to apply for this. Like, I'm sure it's like a full time, way more than I can actually appropriate my time for. But I mean, just keep an eye on that if you're looking for a job. This is super exciting. So, you know how people have been talking about having a train, having a railway somewhere in Colorado that connects cities, and it just has consistently not happened. It's been shot down. It was too expensive. 10 years ago, there was supposed to be a light rail that went from Colorado Springs to Denver, and you'd be able to drive your car there in 9 minutes through like a Hyperloop or something. Whatever happened to that? Right now, there is this website. You go to ridethefrontrange.com. They've got a Zoom webinar coming up in, I think, a week or so here, where they're going to discuss the possibility of actually making this happen. And so this is going to be a front range passenger rail that's going to go all the way from Fort Collins down to Trinidad. And so I have no idea how they're going to be cutting this railway through cities to get them through everything. I mean, it's mainly looking like it's following I-25 for the most part up until you get north of Denver. But for Colorado Springs, what are you exactly are you planning to cut through in order to make this railway happen? So I'm very interested to see what is going to happen with this potential new railway system that can just make connection between the different cities in our state that much easier. So there's a mailing list that I signed up for. Like I said, there's a webinar that you can jump on to see what they're going to be doing here. This webinar is going to be Wednesday, December 13th at 4:30 Mountain Time. So if you live here, yes, 4:30. So I'm definitely going to be listening in on that to see what their plan is to try to push this forward and get this approved. Because I'm assuming this is also not approved. This is still speculation until it gets approved. How much is this going to cost? How are we going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for this? And how exactly is it going to cut through the city? Who's going to be affected by this? Because this is a huge undertaking, and I'm not sure I believe it yet, but I am excited about it. And if you are looking to buy or sell property in the Colorado Springs area, that is what I do. I'm a real estate agent. My name is Kevin James Bond, and I work with Remax Real Estate Group. I'd be happy to help you with that. If there is other Colorado Springs related news that you think I should be covering, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to cover it. I want to make sure that I'm providing you great value for keeping up to date with what's going on in your city. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.